Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Hometown Heroes. I'm Mike Kenichi, and I'm real excited tonight. I've known this gentleman a very long time. He's one of the best people I've ever met, and it is an honor to have him on the show. He's done great things in his life. He is currently, you could see him in the play Rock of Ages. He's done a ton of theater stuff. We're going to talk about that. The one and only Jack Schafler. And Jack, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's a real honor.
No problem.
So, Jack, first off, let's talk a little bit about the ESS years when you were a student at Elizabeth Shelton. Did you start going there in kindergarten, or did you move when you got a little older? How did that all come about?
I started going there in kindergarten.
Yeah. So, just talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, did you ever? I know they do like different things with music, stuff like that. Was there ever a time where like you had like a love for doing plays and stuff like that when you were at ESS, or did that just kind of evolve over time?
I don't really know how to explain it, but like it definitely like while it didn't well it wasn't theater in ESS, like I did enjoy like the music classes there over time, but like I never like really like knew what theater was yet because like I never really got like a chance to like do it while I was at ESS. So it really while like my love for like music started there, it really like I didn't really know much about theater when I was at ESS.
Right. And I know some kids over the years, they've played different instruments, they've done bands, stuff like that. Did you play any instruments like while you were at ESS? I mean, was there a love for like playing like the guitar, the sax, or anything like that?
I mean, like I tried to do piano, but that never ended up working. But I did know that I loved to sing. Like I never really like, but I never really like went on that. But I just knew I like loved to do it for fun.
Right. And one of the things, Jack, that I think is important is it all comes down to the teacher, the instructor. I mean, if they're very into what they're doing, the students are going to love what they're doing. And I'm trying to think, did you have I think her name is Mrs. Testani now, but she was Mrs. Heidman back then, or Heidem. Did you have her for music back then?
I had her for I think like the second half of my time at ESS because she came in like I think my third grade year. But yeah, I had her.
Right. And let me ask you, I mean, one of the toughest things any kid can do, whether they're 6 years old or 13 years old, is getting up and performing in front of a crowd. So when you did like school plays, school productions and stuff like that, was there any nerves, or were you just like excited every time you went out there?
I mean, like I didn't really start doing that till like later, but like once I started doing that, like there was a bit of nerves like the first like one or two times, but like once like I got used to it, like it was just more excitement than nerves.
Yeah. And the thing about ESS, Jack, is one thing I've seen over the years is how much the teachers really care about the students, how they look out for the students and stuff like that. So, I mean, you were very fortunate, like so many kids were. You got to go to a great school where you had great teachers. So, I mean, from kindergarten till your last year in fourth grade, I mean, it had to be the best times back then as a young kid.
Yeah, it was. I had great teachers all throughout. Even the ones I didn't have were like also still great.
Yeah, and I mean, just a great school. And I mean, let me ask you, Jack. I mean, you do a lot of stuff with the productions, which we'll get into, and you work with different kids. I mean, are there any classmates from ESS or kids you went to school with that are doing those productions right now?
Yeah, there were many people that I know of. Some that like in like my last production Rock of Ages. Like my friend Lily went to ESS. Like she played my mother, and also like my friend Maya, who also went to ESS. She played my love interest Anita.
Right. So I mean, that's the thing too about ESS. You've always you make these friendships, and then sometimes when you go to Perry Hill, you go to Shelton Intermediate, you don't always see those same kids because the classes get split up a little bit. So I mean, it's really like really back then is where like you kind of made great friendships with them, and then you get to kind of renew them when you get to high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about Perry Hill a little bit. Now you're a fifth grader, and I know they've done productions such as Center Stage with Perry Hill. I mean, a lot of Perry Hill students did the Center Stage productions. There was one recently that they did a great job with a couple months ago. So, did you take any theater in fifth grade at all?
Not in fifth grade, no.
No. So let me ask you though, and one thing about Perry Hill, which is really cool, is they have, I think they're called clubs, and you kind of get to pick and choose what you want to try. You get to try something each, I think every 3 months or something like that. What were some of the clubs that you joined at Perry Hill back then?
I mean, I think I did about like three clubs. I mean, I did choir for like half my fifth grade year, and then I did like this like bring your own like device club. I don't remember like what that was, and I also did like student council my sixth grade year.
Right. And talk about student council a little bit, Jack, because that's always important as well. Because, I mean, again, you get to have these meetings after school. You kind of, it's almost like, it prepares you to be like a voter someday when you're going to get that opportunity to vote. And you talk about current events and stuff like that. So just talk about student council and that experience.
I mean, like I don't really remember it that much, but I did remember that like we had like a huge impact on like what we would do at the school. Like we planned like events for like the kids to do.
Right. And also, Jack, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about as well, it goes back to ESS. You were really one of the original kids who, when the Boys and Girls Club opened their satellite at Elizabeth Shelton, they had a before and afternoon program. And you were one of those first few kids that joined that program. Talk about being in that program because, again, you got to also form friendships with people that maybe you didn't always get to see in school because you're in different classes. So that was another opportunity to make friends. So just talk about that program a little bit.
I mean, like it was a long time ago, so I don't really remember it, but like it was still like very fun, like seeing like people that like I knew, like some people who I'd see like every day in classes, others not really. And while like I don't really remember much about it, I know that like there are still people from like back then that like remember me from that.
Right. And also, Jack, one of the things I do remember when you were a younger kid is you were very much into computers and you were very talented with that. You were very creative and, making, doing designs and stuff like that. Are you still into computers or is it, I know theater is your first love, but are you still involved with computers?
I mean, like not as much as I was then. Like I have like tried to like do some like graphic design stuff. As I do, I am in Gale News for Shelton High, but that's like the teacher for that is like a mass media. So like she also like runs graphic design. I've used like programs like Canva in her class.
Right. So let me ask you, Jack. So fifth grade comes to a close. You enter sixth grade at Perry Hill, and a lot of times kids their last year at a school they really want to kind of leave that mark, make an impact. So what was the goal going into your last year at Perry Hill? Did you have like anything that you wanted to try that last year? Things you wanted to do? I know like they have a big art show there as well. I mean, was there anything at Perry Hill that you had like a passion to try?
I mean, I didn't have anything specifically, but I knew that like I wanted to do something new in my sixth grade year, and that ended up being two things: one, student council, and then two, theater.
Right. So, did you do a theater play in sixth grade? I mean, was that your first introduction really to doing like theater?
So while I didn't do like the Perry Hill Drama Club, I did do the center stage in the Perry Hill, and I ended up doing Sue School there. My sixth grade year, and that was like my first show.
And talk about that. And what character did you play in that play?
So it was the junior version. I played like Vlad Vladikov, who was like a one-liner character, but like it was still a very fun role. Like it was a one-liner character. It was very fun. I got to scream, and as a sixth grader, I loved when you're sixth grade and you get the opportunity to scream, you're gonna want to do it. So like,
Right.
yeah.
So, Jack, let me ask you this. You got to do that, and that was like your first real like play that you did. And let me ask you, I mean, were you pumped up? And the thing too, Jack, that people don't realize is the amount of rehearsal that you guys do to get ready for these shows. I mean, you'll perform, I think they usually perform 4 shows during the week. They kind of wrap it up on a Sunday, maybe a Saturday, but all the rehearsal that goes into that and, making sure everything is on key, everything is done right. That's a lot of practice and a lot of hard work. So just talk to me about what the importance of always practicing and rehearsing, how invaluable that is.
So the importance of practicing and rehearsing. So like just doing a show is like a huge honor, but like you got to make sure like that show is like amazing and like that it's the best it could be. And like you can have like many like challenges over the way. Like I remember like one year I did like this production of like Into the Woods Junior that, and the twist is that it only had 2 weeks of rehearsal. And while it was a good show, like when you have 2 weeks of rehearsal, you're not gonna get as much like productivity in there. Whereas like if you have like more time, like with Rock of Ages, which I just did, like we had a lot of rehearsal time. Like we started like beginning of February we started, and like we had like over 2 months of rehearsal, and it ended up like working out amazingly as like we ended up getting I think for our last show we got like our biggest audience that we've gotten in like over 10 years.
Right. And, we're going to get into that soon. And I heard great things about that. But let me ask you, Jack, how important is it, though, to keep yourself, uh, your fellow students who do these plays with you motivated and focused? Because while rehearsal is important, I'm sure there's when you're doing it over and over every day. I mean, are there times when it gets a little tedious for you?
I mean, yeah, there's always times. Like there have been times where like we had to like run a number like over and over and over, and it gets annoying sometimes, but like to stay motivated, like it really just like depends on your cast. Like you need to have a good relationship with the cast. Like I know like when I did ad apps, like we had like this like group chat that was like always talking, and like we would like do things outside of rehearsal. Like we would go like to the haunted trail, or like we would do like laser tag.
Right. And that's always important too, Jack, is not just to be friends during rehearsal and during these plays, but also to be friends outside of it and kind of do stuff that's fun together. Not that this isn't fun, but you want to do fun things together as friends. So I think the most important thing that you get out of it, out of everything is the fact that you build these, like I said, relationships and friendships because, you know, those are priceless moments as well.
Yeah, they are. Like I've enjoyed many things I've done with my friends over the times through many shows.
Right. And Jack, one thing that's very important too is the support of your family. And your family's always been supportive of everything you wanted to do. And just talk about your parents, how they've always been in your corner. They back you up 100%. And that's really important because at the end of the day, I mean, like anything else, when you're done with a great show, it's got to be a good feeling for you when mom and dad tell you how awesome you were. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, like they've always like been supportive of me doing it. Like I remember like when I was like I don't know what this is. Like in 6th grade, like when I was like looking at like this thing for like center teachers to school, I'm just like, I don't know what this is, but like I want to try it. And they're like, okay, like we'll see if you like it. And and they end up like always being supportive. They've come to like every show. Like granted, like sometimes I don't force them to go to every show because I remember there have been shows where I've had like 10 shows, and I'm like, you do not have to come to all 10 shows. I'm not gonna make you come to all 10 shows, as I would not do that personally. But but like yeah, like they've always been supportive. They come to every show. They've like even volunteered. And my mom, like she used to be against it like a long time ago. Like I remember like actually last year, honestly, like, she was like against it. But like once she started doing it, like she was like volunteering a lot this year because like she enjoyed it last year.
Yeah. And I mean it's got to be so gratifying for them and make them so proud to see you doing what you love and you do it so well. And I mean, you've had a number of leads which we're going to talk about, but I mean, they can just see like the work ethic you put in. They see it all the time. I mean, I talked to your dad a couple weeks ago and your dad said you give it 150%. And he said you're like an athlete doing it, like where a football player or soccer player is at practice and they're, running around all day and stuff like that. And they're tired after they get out. And he said that's the same thing with you, that you've put so much focus into it and so much work into it and dedication and commitment that you have just, that's why you're so successful at it because you're willing to work hard to do it. And that's important too, because it's not just going to happen by gifted talent alone. You have to be able to sacrifice. There's days when you get out of school, you got to go do this. You can't, go hang out with your friends like maybe you want to. You've got to really give this 100%.
yeah, like there have been moments where I'm just like, I don't really want to go today. I just want to like take a nap, but like I don't like. I persevere. Like I go through like if I'm tired, like I just like get over it. Like I maybe like get like an energy drink to like boost me up, but like even then, like it's like you gotta get it done.
Right, exactly. And Jack, I mean, the thing of it is too is that what I've always remembered about you and what so many friends of yours and teachers and staff members at the club, stuff like that, have always liked about you is you're just a very positive person. Like you wake up every day with such a positive outlook on things. And I mean, that's important too, because I mean, you want to, do good things that you enjoy, but you also have to have a great attitude about doing it. And you always have just an outstanding attitude. So just talk about having that positive outlook all the time.
So yeah, having a positive outlook on it, it really helps. And while like, cause oh wow, I'm trying to like find like so basically like having a positive outlook, it really helps because like if you're gonna go into a show and be like, oh, I don't like this, like it's not really gonna end up going. And honestly, like if you're just gonna go in with that mindset, like everything's gonna go wrong. Like if you're gonna go with that mindset, like I would just say don't do it because like it's not gonna help you. It's not gonna help everybody else. And I'll admit, like not all the time I'm positive. Like it's not all the time I'm positive. Like sometimes I might be like, oh yeah, like it's nerve wracking. Like I don't know I can do this. But like at the end of the day, like you gotta just pull through. You gotta be positive about it. Because if you're just gonna be like all negative about it, it's just not gonna end up well for everybody.
Right. So Jack, talk to me a little bit. You enter Shelton Intermediate School, and that was a tough like 2 years for you and a lot of your classmates. I think eighth grade is when COVID hit for you guys, so you never had like a goodbye at Shelton Intermediate. But let me ask you, talk about seventh grade a little bit. Did you do more and more plays in seventh grade? I mean, were you really locked in on all of this?
I was starting to like it was like very like slowly like it was like I started like doing like more classes at like the education center there, and it was like okay I like this more, and then like I ended up like doing like their spring cab show, which like that's like I don't really know how to explain that, but like I ended up doing that, and like that was like another thing I was really excited about because like it was like it felt like I was like really like stepping up because like I've like seen some of these people perform before, like at Perry Hill, I've seen them before perform, and I'm just like, oh wow, like I'm with these people now because like and it was just like an honor to like be
Right.
there.
And Jack, let me ask you, are there any like productions you watch on TV, or are there any that you went and saw? I mean, like, have you like went to different types of theater plays and kind of like, you kind of get to learn things from other plays you see? Have you been able to do that or watch some on TV?
I mean, I've tried to like not as much because like I used to like go like see like my other friends' shows sometimes like in other towns, and like I'd always like go to see that, and I'd also but then also like very recently I like started to like go see more Broadway shows because like I remember like while like I was like oh I want to go see a Broadway show for my birthday, it was like okay we'll just go for one day, we'll go into the city, but then like my mom finally realized that's like I want a vacation out of this. And so like she wants a vacation out of this and we all did. So like she was just like, we'll just see multiple over the weekend, go to New York for the weekend, see multiple shows. And I've seen a lot of shows. And like it's gotten a little bit more like perspective for me after seeing a lot of shows.
Right, exactly. And Jack, you talked about early on you did like small parts in like center stage, and then you were doing supporting roles. When did you decide that you said to yourself, you know what, I want to try for the lead role in something? Because as time went on, you would do that. I mean, was there ever were you ever hesitant about that, or were you ready to go all in with that?
I mean like I don't really know like how it like started. It really just like depended on the show. Like I've always like I think from the start I always knew I wanted to like get there. Like at the start I was like that's not gonna happen. Like let's be realistic here. Like I can't just go in and get the lead role immediately. So I want to just like start like I want to just like work my way up. And eventually like I got to that point, which I was very proud of myself. But even then there have been some shows where I'm like, there's no one getting the lead role, I'll just do ensemble.
And the thing that impresses me about everything these kids do with these productions, and I'm sure it's something that impresses you when you watch some of your castmates do it as well, is not only do you have to be good at acting, but performing too. I mean, being a good singer, getting the notes right, getting everything down right. Talk to me about the first time you performed. Have you performed any solos yet, or?
I mean, like, let's see, because like it's weird. Like the timeline gets a little weird for me because like I know in like eighth grade, like when I was doing spring cap, I was like supposed to have like I think like two solos actually, but like that ended up being like squashed because that was COVID, and I don't really count that show because like it wasn't like performed to like the full ability we could. Like we had to do it like outdoors in the summer, so like I don't really count that. But like then my freshman year, I was lucky enough that we were still able to get ad-apps because we couldn't do the spring musical, but like we were still lucky enough to get ad-apps, and I ended up having a solo at ad-apps.
And how difficult was that, Jack? I mean, COVID was difficult for everybody. I mean, it changed the world, and here we are 3 years later. We're somewhat back to normalcy, but we're still not 100% there. But just talk about for you as a student. I mean, eighth grade you end it, and you're doing distance learning. Then ninth grade you're doing a lot of distance learning. So really, eighth grade, the end of eighth grade, and most of the end of your freshman year, you didn't really get to do as much theater as you would have liked, correct?
Yeah, I did not really get to do as much here as I wanted to.
Right. So now, Jack, talk to me. Oh, one other thing I wanted to ask you though. Doing plays when you're doing stuff like this, and you're doing, like you said, you did 10 shows. You were saying, oh, you told your parents you don't have to go to every show. Are there ever nights where you're analyzing yourself and saying, man, I didn't like how I was tonight. I want to try to be better tomorrow. Were there ever times where like you second guessed yourself when you were doing these?
Oh, of course. Like there's always times. Like I think every show, there's always just like maybe like one night or even two nights sometimes where I'm just like, yeah, like that wasn't my best job. Like I could have done better. But like at the end of the day, like even when I have those nights, like everybody still comes up to me. Oh, everybody still comes up to me and they're like, oh, you did so amazing, and that still like is amazing to like hear because I'm just like I thought like it was like oh like I messed up it's not one of the best nights and I'll just accept it, but like the fact that people like don't realize that like that really like it makes you feel a little bit better.
Right. So correct me if I'm wrong, Jack. I think sophomore year you were able to do two production plays, one in the winter, one in the spring. Am I right? I know there was one in the spring for sure.
Yeah, there was one in the spring. It was ad-apps in the winter. And also I also did fall cab at center stage as well. Um
Right.
but yeah, I was able to do those three, but like the big one was like the spring musical though. We were able to do that year.
Right. So talk about the spring musical. What was the play about, and what was your character in that?
So actually it was very ironic because it was Seussical because I did that was actually my first ever show. So I was like,
Right.
wow, this is like wild that I'm doing this again. But this time it was a different role. Well, I did try out for the role of Horton. I didn't get that. I ended up getting moved to a different role as the mayor. But there was never a callback. Like they just like knew like I was the mayor. And like they definitely made a good call with that one because like it was such a good role for me. Like but Sue School, I don't really know how to explain the plot of it. It's very like chaotic because there's so much going on in that show. It's more so like it's just all the Dr. Seuss characters and like I really don't know how to explain it because like
And how many hours a week, Jack, would you say you and your castmates worked on that production before you performed it? What would you say the hours were that you put in?
oh it was definitely a lot. I would say about like maybe like 10 to 12 hours a week for sure.
Right. And let me ask you though, I mean, I don't think though that in your eyes, I mean, it's work obviously to get it right and to be, good at it and stuff like that. But I don't think that you and your fellow cast members look at it as work. It's fun too. I mean, you guys enjoyed going there every day doing this, and you're trying to perfect it. So when you perform it, it's like, the best thing you see. So, I mean, it was definitely something you enjoy doing every day, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely enjoyed going there every day.
Right. And talk to me. I just brought this up a little bit, Jack, how important the instructors are, the teachers, how they impact you guys and prepare you for stuff like this. So just talk to me about some of the instructors you've worked with on these plays.
So yeah, like I'm gonna talk about like my most recent ones. So basically, with the spring musical, last year we had three. Kay said, Fiona, Justin, Jay Z, as he called himself. But like the three of them, like they all helped. This year Jay Z didn't do it because I think he runs like theater like Sacred Heart, so like he was busy doing that. So it was just Kay said and Fiona, who I just learned like last week they were the first like all female directing team. Just wanted to note that. But like I just learned that. But basically like they all like do different things. Like Kay said and Jay Z like they like usually like both like coded like staging and like
Yeah.
choreographed the show. Though this year it was just Kay said. So like and like props to her because like she did it all by herself. So like props to her for that. And Fiona runs all like the music, so like basically getting like the harmony is correct, like going through the solos, even going through lines.
And what is the feeling like, Jack, when you see a big crowd and you've performed something and you know you've done well at it, and then you see people clapping, giving you guys standing ovations? What is the feeling like for you as a performer when you see a crowd like that and you see how into what you guys did and how, they just they marvel in what you guys do?
It's an empowering feeling because like to know that like they all came to like see the show and like they're all enjoying it because like I've had like instances where it's like been like smaller audiences and it's like they don't enjoy it as much. Like usually I experience this with like if I ever have a show like on like a Sunday matinee, like usually like that's usually not the most hype crowd because usually that's like the old crowd because like they're obviously like not going to be as like hyped because like they're like they'll enjoy it certainly, but they're not gonna be like loudly cheering because like
Right.
but like definitely it's very empowering to see like everybody just enjoying the show, like knowing that we worked this hard and they all enjoyed it and they all wanted to come see it. Even when people saw it multiple times, it's like no, you wanted to see it again and again and again. Like it's amazing.
Right. And talk a little bit about the cast that you've worked with in the last couple of years, Jack, because I look at it like you guys are a family. I really do. You guys pick each other up. You're there for each other. And I think that's important as well when you're supporting one another. So just talk about some of the castmates, especially the ones that you've gotten to work with a lot and how, they've helped you along the way as well.
Yeah, I've worked with like many sets of casts, and it depends on the show. Usually when I do Fall Cabot Center Stage, it's like the same group of high schoolers, but like because it's not just Shelton, you get like all the other towns. You get like people from Amity, you get people from Oxford, like all around. Like, and that's a fun cast because you like, get to see people from other towns that you won't normally get to see in high school because obviously you don't go to Shelton. So it's like very fun to do that. But the people I usually see are like the people like in my age group because when I did AdApps, we were first combined freshman sophomore year, and usually once like the freshman sophomore hit, then like for the junior year they go to their own show. However, we like had to like beg like Joe Sedlock who like runs everything to like have us stay together. You still there?
Right. Yeah, I'm still there. Sorry
All
about that.
right. No, it's fine. All right. But basically, we just like beg him to like keep our cast combined, and we end up staying combined till this year, their senior year, our junior year, because like we were just like such a family. Like, and it's funny because even then, our freshman year, like we really talked because like it was because we came in like a lot of us like we were still like hybrid at the time. People were like even distance learning, like so like we were like not used to like talking to people because like me personally, like some of my classes were like so small. Like I remember like had like a 10-person math class in full, keep in mind. So like you imagine how it was hybrid where it's like just me and like one other person there. And like and you're not even in school every day. So like you're just not talking to people. You have to be like socially distanced, like mask wearing, all of that. So it was like rough at first. But then like once like we had to like talk to each other more, like got to hang out more, like definitely like once like COVID restrictions started going down, like we like just became closer and closer and closer.
Yeah, and that's another good point that you just made, Jack, is I think it really says a lot about you and the cast members, the resiliency that all of you have, because you had to adapt to something new with COVID and you had to kind of, you know, adapt to it in the sense that you couldn't meet together. So you had to kind of do it from Zoom or whatever it was, like you said, hybrid. And the fact that you guys were still able to do that and then still come back, be successful and stuff like that. That really is a credit to you and your fellow cast members of the work ethic and devotion you have to this.
Yeah, it really is because like COVID like really like affected all of us because like we all like like I think like even though like I knew many of these people like I like didn't talk to these people like some of them for years like and because of COVID and like it was like awkward at first but like, then like we all ended up like just powering through it like we all ended up being able to like communicate with each other again because it was like definitely a good feeling because when like you're sitting in your house all alone just like doing like on like the Google Meets which that was like we pretty much all did that it's like not really that fun because like you're just sitting in like your room or like your kitchen whatever like just doing your work.
Exactly. So, Jack, let's get right into this. I mean, last weekend, I think it started last Thursday, actually. It was Rock of Ages. And I mean, all I heard was good reviews about this. Teachers at ESS were talking about this. I mean, everybody seemed to love this play. Just talk to me about this play. And if I'm not mistaken, you were one of the lead characters in this play, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So, talk about that and just talk about how that went for all of you.
So Rock of Ages, so a little bit of history. So back in 2020, so this is my 8th grade year. So like they were supposed to do this with that year. And so originally I wasn't even supposed to do this. So it was like gonna be a completely different cast. And like of course like COVID ended up hitting that. And I think only 2 people, if I'm not mistaken, ended up being from that original cast came back in because like it was like their freshman year and like back then like everybody used to like try out so like a lot of people got cut even then like a lot of talented people I know were cut that year but like obviously with COVID like less people did it this year like everybody who tried out got in um but besides that though like it was still like, a very well motivated cast like we had like a bit of like bumps on the road like I remember like our scripts were being shipped in late so that was a bit of like a problem for us but like it was still like we powered through it. Like we got through like we actually were pretty productive because we finished like staging like most of the show like just like in the first few weeks. And like we
Right.
finished like a lot of the numbers. Like really like we were done with most of the show by like when we still had a month left. So we just had nothing but time to perfect it all. And it was really fun. Like it was like probably one of the biggest roles I've ever had because like I was like the mayor who was like more of a supporting role last year, but like this year, like I was like one of the leads. I mean, great, yeah, I was one of the leads. And what was I gonna say?
And who was your character?
Franz. So like yeah,
Oh,
basically I play
wow.
like this like German guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. It's like the plot was like very complicated for this show, but yeah, like we were able to get through it. We actually ended up having a live band for this show, which we did not have last year, but like it was like once like the band came in, like that's when, like the show like really like was like going at it because like the band was like so talented. Like we like I loved the band so much. Like they were so much fun to have. Like and like, they really brought on to like the performance and like it like just ended up making the performance just like much better and like we ended up like getting like our biggest crowds like ever because like even like like granted for an opening night like we usually like keep in mind like Shelton High is like a huge auditorium like it's like over like 1,000 like over like 1,100 seats I think and usually we get maybe like 300 like 400 people which is like the size about Amity's auditorium. Keep in mind the Amity like sold out their shows every night. Granted, they had to do more shows, and they also have a much smaller auditorium. But besides that, like we ended up getting like 700 people our first night, which is like for an
Wow.
opening night, that's crazy. So like even like before like people even saw the show, like they all took a chance on it because like they're like it's all because the show's all like 80s music, so like everybody knows the songs, everybody loves the songs. But like that ended up being so good that we ended up getting more and more people. Like the last night, like we were in like four digit numbers for the audience members, and like we nearly like sold out. And keep in mind, like they haven't like sold, they haven't gotten this close like in about like 15 years.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, Jack. I mean, And let me ask you, would you say thus far, I mean, you've done quite a few productions. Would you say this one right now was your favorite one to do? I mean, because I mean, this one you got to play, like you said, a big lead role in it, and I mean, a live band, and you got 700 people. Would you say right now this would rank at the top of your list?
Honestly, yeah, like it was just a really fun show. Like I got to like, I feel like I really like grew more as like a performer because like definitely like, and I had like challenges at the show that I had to face. Like literally like a couple weeks ago, I literally had COVID, and like I had to like miss like a whole week of rehearsals because of that. And so like and that like damaged my voice because like when you had COVID, like it's not really like good, and that was definitely like a problem that I had to face throughout it. But then I was able to like persevere. Like I was like, and I was on so much like meds, so much cough drops, like nasal spray, like all of that. Like because I had to like get back into it because I was still, even though like I was like done my quarantine, like I was still like I was still like a little bit under the weather, but like I persevered, and like I ended up being much better than I thought I was going to be because like I was like I just kept like exceeding my expectations.
And that's the other thing too, Jack. You know, you talk about perseverance. I mean, anybody who's ever had COVID, I mean, we both had it, so we know what it feels like. It's not you recover quick in the sense, a lot of times in the sense that you start to feel better, but you do have those lingering effects, and the voice is always affected. I mean, I still at times my voice gets raspy, and so that's not an easy thing. And you're trying to, you need your voice to do this place. So I mean, that was like adversity that you had to come over, and I mean, you handled that really well.
Yeah, I really did because like it was like tough at times because like my character like I had to like sing like a little high sometimes, and it was like and that was like very tough because like I like normally like notes that I could hit beforehand, like I could not hit those notes anymore. Like I was like struggling, like and like it was like very evident that I was struggling. And I ended up having to like switch like because for one song like it was like I had to like end on a free note, and like the original plan was for me to go like do the high note, but like I couldn't do that, so I ended up like switching it around, just like holding out longer.
Right. And I mean, you really came through it great. And I mean, like I said, I heard nothing but awesome things about this production. Now, Jack, let me ask you, I mean, going forward, I mean, is this something you want to continue beyond high school? And also, would you ever down the road consider being an instructor? Because I mean, it seems like something you would enjoy doing, working with kids and teaching them stuff that, you know, was taught to you. I think you would enjoy that. So, are those two goals that you have in mind down the road?
I mean, like for doing this after high school, like I haven't really like thought about that yet, which I mean I probably should because I am a junior, I'm about to go my senior year, but like it's definitely in my mind, like would I like hate doing it? The answer is no. Like I would love to do this, but like also like there's also a lot of things I can do. But would I love to be an instructor? I would love to be an instructor. Like it would be like so honoring because I've like for a while now, like I've wanted to like just like be behind the scenes for something, and like I've even like considered like doing that for my capstone project. Like I've
Yeah,
considered doing that for my capstone project because like I would love to like do that.
right, exactly. Jack, what would you say is has been the most rewarding thing for you on a personal level in doing this? Because I mean, obviously you're very talented at it, you're real good at it, but what would you say is the most rewarding thing about it for you?
The most rewarding thing is like having like when like a random like parent or grandparent comes up to you and they're like, you did great, like okay, it's just like a random parent or grandparent. But when it's like people that like did the shows beforehand, like I have like many friends who like were actually supposed to be in this show, keep in mind. Like they were like in the class of 2020. I was friends with them because I did the summer shows with them, and like they were like coming up to me saying like, "Oh, you did amazing," and I'm like, "You like really held up like to our standards." And also when the directors like said like you did amazing, like I had like my director like I remember like she like texted me like saying like I did amazing that night, and I like really like improved, and like it like felt very honoring for that to happen.
Right, definitely. And Jack, before we go, what advice would you give to somebody who was in your position, starting out doing drama, student council, whatever it might be? Like, what would you say to them about what advice would you give to them if they want to continue to excel at this?
So one, I would say if you want to continue to excel at this, like be sure, because like if you're not sure, like it might not be right, but like you have to be sure about it. And if you want to do that, like you're gonna have to do a lot of work. Like it's not gonna be easy. Like you have to do a lot of like I would say like definitely like get through. Like you're not gonna like don't expect to get like the lead in like your second show because like chances are like the chances of that happening are very low. But like I would say just like like work hard, make sure like to practice, don't slack off because like that will not end up working in your favor. And like just like and like persevere because you can always do better.
Well, Jack, I think that's great advice, and I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes to say, number one, congratulations on everything you're doing. We're very proud of you. You're a hardworking kid. You always have been, and I really do applaud you for what you are doing because I mean, this thing that you've been doing the last several years is unbelievable, and you are so good at it. And I just look forward to seeing you continue to do what you love. So, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes today. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you. Well, there you have it, folks. You just got to know the man, Jack Schafler. This remarkable young boy has done so many great things in his life. I got to witness it firsthand when he was about 8 or 9 years old. You could see the motivation that this young man had. He always wanted to be the best he could possibly be. He was never going to settle for anything less. He's a determined young man. He's very motivated, and he has an idea that he could do anything that he sets out to do, which is why he's always been so successful in his life. The best is yet to come for Jack Schafler. He is only going to continue to do great things. And one thing is definitely sure no matter what he does in his life, he will always do it like the true champion he is, because that's what he's been every day of his life. For Hometown Heroes, I'm Mike Kenichi saying good night, everyone.